You've probably heard the usual folklore monsters before: vampires, werewolves, maybe even Mothman if you're lucky. But those are basically celebrities at this point. The creatures I'm about to tell you about, they're the kind that live in the deep corners of old legends. The ones most people don't even dare to talk about anymore. Every culture has its own version of a nightmare. Something that explains the unexplainable. Something that makes you want to sleep with the lights on. And these stories aren't your average ghost tales. They're darker, stranger. Some of them are so bizarre you'll wonder who first thought of them, and what exactly was in their drinking water that night. From flying heads with dripping entrails, to eerie figures who knock on your door just to announce your death, and to the dreaded whistle in the woods. These creatures are the kind of thing that makes even seasoned horror fans squirm. So if you're brave enough to keep watching, go ahead. Just, maybe don't watch this one alone. Let's start with something truly disturbing from Southeast Asia, one that literally loses her head over her work. Imagine this. You wake up in the middle of the night to a faint, wet sound, like something dripping just outside your window. You look up, and there it is. A woman's head, floating in the darkness, her hair tangled and slick, her organs dangling beneath her like grotesque streamers. Congratulations, you've just met the Penanggalan. This creature comes from Malay and Southeast Asian folklore, and she's basically a witch who takes self-care to horrifying extremes. By day, she's a normal woman, but when night falls, she detaches her head from her body, just pops it off, and flies through the air in search of blood, specifically the blood of pregnant women and newborns. The legend says she slips through cracks in walls or windows, her long tongue snaking out to feed. Which means all those old stories about don't leave the windows open at night suddenly make a lot more sense. Villagers had some creative ways to protect themselves too, hanging thorny vines around their homes so her exposed organs would get tangled, or placing shards of glass in jars of vinegar so she couldn't soak her entrails to reattach herself to the rest of her body in the morning. Because apparently, even monsters need a skincare routine. The Penanggalan is more than just a monster story. It's a reflection of deep cultural fears around childbirth, mortality, and women who step too far into forbidden power. She's a warning, a symbol, and honestly, the worst possible houseguest. Now, if that didn't ruin floating for you forever, let's move from the skies to the deep waters of Scotland, where something beautiful is waiting, and it's definitely not your friend. The Scottish Highlands are hauntingly beautiful, misty lochs, rolling hills, the kind of scenery that makes you want to write poetry or summon something by accident. But beneath all that calm water, something ancient is waiting. It's called the Each-Uisge, and it might just be the most terrifying reason to stay off horseback in Scotland. The name literally means water horse, and if that sounds majestic, don't get too comfortable. The Each-Uisge can appear as a beautiful horse grazing by the shore, or, if it's feeling fancy, as a devastatingly attractive human. Either way, once you touch it, you're done. Because the second someone climbs onto its back, their hands fuse to its slick, cold skin. The creature bolts straight into the loch, plunging beneath the surface, and devours its rider. The only thing that ever floats back up? The liver. Guess even monsters have their dietary preferences. People in the Highlands learned quickly, if you see a horse standing near the water, especially one that looks just a little too perfect, you turn around, slowly, and walk away. Some say the Each-Uisge represents the dangerous allure of nature, beautiful, unpredictable, and always hungry. Others say it's just another example of why you should never trust something that's both wet and good-looking. And speaking of cold, isolated places, our next legend drags us into the snow-covered valleys of Kashmir, where something else is prowling the night, and she's not looking for warmth. High in the snowy mountains of Kashmir, when the wind howls through the valleys and the night grows heavy with silence, people say there's something moving through the storm. Something with long black hair, blood-red eyes, and feet that face the wrong way. They call her Rantas. She's said to appear during the harshest winter nights when no one sane would wander outside. But if you do, you might hear her first. A cry, somewhere between a sob and a scream, echoing through the snow. According to legend, Rantas is a vengeful female spirit who lures men away from their homes. She cries out for help, pretending to be lost or injured. And when someone follows her voice into the dark, she reveals herself, grabs them with her long clawed hands, and drags them into the mountains, never to be seen again. Some say she was once a woman betrayed or abandoned, frozen by heartbreak and rage. Others believe she's simply the embodiment of winter itself, cold, merciless, and hungry for warmth that isn't hers. In the old tales, mothers warned their sons not to go out after dark, especially when the snow was thick enough to hide footsteps, or leave them pointing the wrong way. So if you ever find yourself lost in the mountains and you hear a voice calling your name through the storm, don't answer. It might not be human. Now, if that wasn't enough to keep you from hiking ever again, let's head somewhere warmer, but no less unsettling. Because in the Philippines, when you hear a knock at your door in the dead of night, it's not opportunity calling. The air feels heavy, the kind that clings to your skin. The world's gone quiet. No wind, no cars, just the hum of crickets, until you hear it. Knock, knock, knock. You freeze, obviously, because who's visiting at this hour? You peek through the window, and standing there are 3 hooded figures, faces hidden, patiently waiting at your door. That sound? It's not a prank. You've just met the Kumakatok, and whatever you do, don't answer. The Kumakatok are said to be harbingers of death. They go door to door in the dead of night, knocking politely like they're delivering cookies from the underworld. And if they come to your house, someone inside is going to die soon. Some stories say the figures are a man, a woman, and a child. Others claim they're monks or ghosts of a long-lost family. Either way, people were so terrified of their knock that during the 1940s, entire neighborhoods repainted their doors black in hopes of keeping them away. Which, honestly, is a solid design choice and a survival strategy. No one really knows what the Kumakatok want or why they choose certain homes. Maybe they're warning you, maybe they're collecting souls, or maybe they're just bad at social cues and don't realize midnight visits are creepy. But here's the rule: if they knock, don't answer, and definitely don't open the door, because once you do, it might be your last polite conversation ever. If you thought mysterious door knockers were bad, wait until you meet the one who whistles, because when this creature's tune drifts through the night, it's never a good sign for whoever's listening. In the flat, endless plains of Venezuela, when the night stretches wide and the air grows heavy, there's a sound that makes even the bravest souls freeze. A whistle, high and distant at first, then low and close, like it's circling you. Locals say if it sounds near, you're safe. But if it seems far away, he's already behind you. They call him El Silbón, or the Whistler. Long ago, he was just a boy, a spoiled one, the kind who always got what he wanted. But one night, when his father failed to bring home a deer for dinner, the boy's temper snapped. In a fit of rage, he killed his father and brought his organs home for his mother to cook. She realized too late what she was stirring in the pot. As punishment, the boy was tied to a post. His back was lashed with whips, his wounds washed with salt, lemon, and hot peppers. He was cursed to wander the earth forever, carrying his father's bones in a sack slung over his shoulder. And somewhere along the way, the boy became something else, taller than a tree, skeletal, ghostly pale, his bones creaking as he walked. Now El Silbón roams the plains, counting the bones in his bag, searching for new ones to add. And that whistle, it's his warning, or maybe his game. Because if you hear the whistle close by, you're safe. But if it sounds far away, he's already right behind you. Some say his whistle follows sinners, drunks, and unfaithful men. Others believe he simply wanders, forever reliving his guilt in the lonely dark. Either way, when the wind changes and the night goes still, people still listen closely, because El Silbón's tune never really stopped. And if you hear it, well, let's just hope it sounds close. And there you have it. 5 creatures from around the world that prove humanity didn't need horror movies to scare itself senseless. We were doing just fine with our imagination. What makes these stories so fascinating is how they blend fear with meaning. Every legend, no matter how grotesque, comes from something human. Fear of the unknown, guilt, grief, curiosity, the need to explain the shadows that move when no one's looking. Maybe that's why these creatures still live on. Not because they're real, but because we need them to be. They remind us that darkness isn't just out there. It's in the stories we tell, the warnings we pass down, and the questions we still can't answer. So the next time you hear something strange in the night, whether it's a knock, a cry, or a distant whistle, just remember, it's probably nothing. Probably. If you enjoyed exploring these legends, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps the channel out and lets me know you want more folklore deep dives like this. And if you're feeling brave, drop a comment with the creature that freaked you out the most. Thanks for watching, and whatever you do tonight, don't answer the door.